Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about acknowledging your starting point and being real honest with what got you to where you are and how to move forward from that spot. Hopefully I stay on topic and hopefully I don't go too long today. It's something that I'm very passionate about because I think it's something that it has kept me from moving forward in several seasons of my life. The sun is going down, so hopefully I can get this done quickly. So a little bit about me. My name is Kat. I am 35 years old. I have a daughter who is 11 and a half years old. I am a single mom and I have never been married. I have dated a few times throughout my child's life. But currently I am single. So, and I started from a place of really depending on other people and needing help a lot. And I have slowly moved toward what I would consider doing fairly decently in life at the moment, emotionally, spiritually, physically, monetarily. I'm doing okay. So for myself, we've talked about guilt and shame and the effects of those things on people in general, but specifically on this channel, we're talking about single moms. And we've talked about how when you feel a lot of insecurity, it's really easy to get defensive and really easy to get offended because you already internally feel a lot of doubt about yourself and a lot of doubt about your worth and your value. Another area that plays into is your jumping off point or your starting point. I think a lot of times when we're going through hard stuff, it's much easier to ignore or to deny where we're at. But the problem with denying where we're at or what got us to where we are, is that it makes it very difficult to take those first steps forward. First steps are always hard anyway, but if we don't know where we're starting from, it makes it even more difficult. Some examples of that in my life have been not being able to acknowledge that I've used my money poorly and I'm in a bad financial situation and I need to fix it, or to not acknowledge that I've been eating junk food way too much and I need to eat more healthy so that I can be healthy for myself and for my child, or a lack of sleep because I'm in denial about the fact that I spend way too much time on my phone at night rather than reading a book and falling asleep. There's lots of instances of areas we may want to improve where we can't really even see that we need to improve until we acknowledge our starting point. The thing about acknowledging your starting point is that initially it feels really overwhelming and it feels like it's not possible to move forward from there. But the thing is acknowledging where you're at and being really honest with how you got to where you've gotten, whether that's through poor habits, whether that's through poor circumstances, whether that's because of traumas that you've had in your life and wounds that you've had in your life that have influenced who you've become, or whatever it is. It's when we acknowledge those things, it actually empowers us. It empowers us to realize, okay, those things happened, and now I can take steps to heal and to move forward and to grow. So, for instance, with traumas and with bad things that happened in our families or whatnot, I had to go to counseling and work through some stuff about my mom and my past. I realized a few years ago that I had no memories of my mom holding me or playing with me or being nurturing at all. And the reason is because she got cancer when I was about 6 years old. And going through cancer with 3 young daughters at home and a husband who worked all the time, I'm sure was incredibly difficult. On top of the fact that all of the drugs and the surgeries and the hormone stuff really affected who she was. But I had to acknowledge where I was at and some of the issues that I had in order to start that healing process of not really having a nurturing person in my life for most of my life. And it really helped me to move forward. Or acknowledging not recently, I guess it was a couple years ago, acknowledging that finances, like you're not just good at finances. You don't have financial success just because you have a lot of money. You have financial success because you are wise with your money. And so learning how to be wise with my money when I had little really helped me for when I did finally start making good income to be able to manage my finances at that time. But I didn't learn those habits growing up. Those were not things my parents taught me. My parents were quite irresponsible when it came to money, and that was because they didn't know. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know, but it's good to be intentional with figuring out where you're at. If there's an area in your life that you're unhappy with or that you want to grow in, you have to really take a step back and look at what got you to where you are and what steps you can take to move forward. Some things that I really like to do is I really like learning. I like to understand things and why they are the way they are, which I think helps me a lot in this area. But I will read books, I will listen to audiobooks, I will listen to podcasts on the subject, I will watch YouTube videos. I'm very visual, and like I need all of the senses essentially to be brought into the picture to learn something and to hold my attention, which is why videos have been a big part of my learning, whether in college or when I'm trying to grow as a person. Videos help a lot. So when I watch videos and can put the pieces together, that helps me quite a bit. When we are in denial about our starting point, we're really actually robbing ourselves of growth. We're robbing ourselves of so much potential that we have. The Lord is a very present God. And I think, you might have heard before that He meets you where you're at. And I like to add on to that He meets you where you're at for the purpose of moving forward. He doesn't ever just leave you where you are. He has such amazing vision for your life and plans and purposes that you can't even fathom. And He's a good God. So when He meets us where we're at, it's for the purpose of moving forward. So whatever you're struggling with, you can always invite Him into that space, to that area, and move forward with Him. He doesn't condemn you. He doesn't look to your past and say, look at all these areas where you messed up. That's not how God works. That's how people work sometimes, and that's how religion works sometimes. But Jesus wasn't very focused on sin. He was really focused on the people, and on the people being healed and flourishing and moving forward with Him. The whole purpose was to restore us to a connection with Him. And that has been a huge factor in my ability to grow and move forward, is really connecting with God and moving forward with Him. I've worked through so much of my own mental mess and poor choices and wounds and traumas from my childhood that were really stunting my growth. And there's just so much hope. I think what we're really lacking a lot in this world is hope for a good future, hope for tomorrow, hope for more than what it is right now. And my hope, when I acknowledged my starting points, my hope was the first thing to grow, because all of a sudden I could see so much more potential in front of me. When I acknowledged where my starting point was, it was like I'd been walking around just looking at the ground. There's not a starting point because I'm not going anywhere. But when I acknowledged my starting point, I could look forward and see that there was a way ahead, and that there was something bright and beautiful and amazing at the end. So, as a single mom, I guess I just want to encourage other single moms out there that there's no shame in acknowledging your starting point. There was a point in time that I had a roommate and I was living in a single wide trailer. I was making $600 a month. I didn't know how I was going to get food on the table. I didn't know how I was going to pay for utilities. I had a roommate who helped with the rent, but other than that, like, I was barely making it. My daughter was 2. But when I acknowledged my starting point, I was able to see hope, and hope changes everything. So be honest with where you're starting from. Be honest with how you got there, and understand that there's no shame in how you got there. There's no shame in where you're at. You're a beautiful, worthy, valuable person, and if you let him, God will move into that space of your starting point and walk with you on your journey, because it's a journey to a really bright future. And when you let go of the shame and you realize that God is not condemning, God is not shaming you, God is not trying to make you feel guilty. Those are things that have been imposed on you by the world and by yourself. Those are lies. That's not what he says about you. When you realize that, like, there's no shame in the starting point, all there is hope for the future. It really frees you up and empowers you to move forward into everything that you dream possible and everything that you want to be and become. I hope that you have a beautiful day. Like this video if it was helpful at all, or if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for next week's video, and I hope you guys have a great week.